these are the people who I want to appeal to. Make those little slips. It happens. You have to have a plan, ability to manage your problems effectively. How are you going to do it? Fall off the horse? Jump right back on.
And we're back with Jenny Lovell, of course, mental health professional, and we're getting into Bruk It Down with Jenny. We are having our final chapter of love languages, right?
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Welcome back.
Good morning, Belize.
Yes.
Thank you. It's been a while, huh?
Yes, it has. And we've been looking forward to this final segment in looking at love languages.
Yes. I want to review,
Yes.
just to remind people of the love languages.
Yeah.
So this is the fifth
Yes.
love language. Oh, we're stuck.
They're gonna get it up. Don't
To
worry.
review,
Uh-huh.
we went over words of affirmation, remembering that words are important.
Yeah.
That the person whose love language is words of affirmation, you want to be encouraged. They want to be validated with words. You know, you're doing well. You're beautiful.
Yes.
All those things, right? Quality time for the person whose love language is quality time. What is important to that person
Here.
is your undivided attention. Make time. I mean, if it's 15 minutes that you sit with me and you listen intently to what I'm saying and make eye contact with me, that's quality time. And if you only give me 15 minutes of that, that will fill my love tank, right? Receiving gifts. People think receiving gifts is that this person is self-centered and materialistic, but it's not, because the gifts don't have to be money, or don't have to be expensive.
That's right.
It's the time you invest in finding the gift.
Energy.
It's thinking, yes, and
like
thinking
you
about
listened.
it.
The
Yes, yes. Like, you know, I listen to what people are talking about. They like. And if I'm someplace and I see it, I'll grab it. I'll go, oh, I just remembered Marlene loves these. And I'll pick it up and I'll put it aside and wait for her birthday, wait for Christmas, wait for something, some special occasion that I can give it to her, right? Receiving gifts, the person who, that is important to, that's their love language. It's not about money, it's not about being self-centered.
Yeah.
It's about how you think about me. Yeah. Acts of service. This requires thought, planning, effort, energy. It's this person appreciates it when you take time out to do things for them. Simple little things, like getting up and making a cup of coffee. When I wake up in the morning, this hot coffee, and you put something on the table for me. Acts of service.
Helping with the kids.
Helping with the kids. I come in and I'm tired, and you're sitting there playing with the kids, and they've already eaten. Oh my, my love tank is so full. You know, these are real expressions of love.
Yeah.
Now, physical touch. Let's get into physical touch. It's a way of communicating love, communicating and receiving love. And it's this person, it's so easy to satisfy this person, because all it takes are simple things like touching my finger. We're sitting watching TV and you reach over and touch my finger.
Yeah. And I was going to say that I think the automatic assumption people have with physical touch is that it boils down to sex.
And it's not.
And it's a lot more complex than that.
Way more. Way more. It's healthy. It's a very healthy thing. And it speaks, this love language speaks more loudly than others. Right? Because it's so intimate when you take time. Particularly, and I'll talk about this later on, but particularly when you reach over and you put your hand around my shoulders in front of the family members, or in front of the children. Because you have people who will tell you things like, we don't hug in public, we don't touch in public, because we don't want everybody to know what we're doing. It's so crazy. And if that's my love language, what have you just done?
Oh, I'm starving.
Yes, what have you just done?
Yeah.
So, physical touch, some signs of communicating love. Because we all have tactile receptors, you know. The fingers are very tactile. So when you touch me on my shoulders, or give me a small little massage, it's nothing big. Right? But you do little loving things like that. If that's my love language, man, my tank is so full. Right?
There's also the act of just being physically close.
Yes.
You know, whether you're next to somebody and there's distance, or you're next to somebody and there's just it doesn't feel like an invasion of your personal space.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can tell, like you can look at some people when they're sitting. They're not physically touching hands, but the way they sit and their heads lean towards each other.
Yeah.
You know, and you look at that, and it's such a touching scene. And for the person who is experiencing that, it's wonderful for if that is their love language.
Jenny, you know, I was thinking about it, like, isn't some of it biological too? Because, you know, when a mother gives birth, the first thing that the nurses do is to put that child on their chest.
Yeah, the skin
And so
to skin.
their first actual introduction to the world, the physical world, after they've come out of that swimming pool that they were in for 9 months, is actually getting that physical touch. And then the second aspect of physical touch is that the next gratifying thing is they get food, which is breast milk. So it's the touching thing, doesn't that exist in everybody in a certain sort of way? Doesn't everybody understand that one and appreciate that one?
Yeah, everyone appreciates it, but if that is my love language, I appreciate it even
more.
Yeah. No, because I mean, I know some people who like would love to have somebody playing their hair, and I know some other people it's like, don't touch my hair, you know.
Don't touch
Or, you know, even the public display of affection, you know, it's the same thing. Some people want to be hugged in public, some people don't.
I know.
It's just, it depends on what your love language
And
is.
you don't have to do it so overtly in public.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, you could play footsies on the table.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
simple things like that.
Yeah.
So that I know that you're thinking about me.
Yeah.
And even though we're sitting here with our friends, we're still communicating.
Yeah.
Right?
Or even lying down watching television. That's always a
yes,
key one.
That's
yeah.
a nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just lying together, watching TV. You can go on the floor, playing games and just touching each other. It's so easy if you make the time, if you think about the things, if you know that love language. And again, I want to just jump forward and
Okay,
say,
go ahead.
it is so important to know your love language and you know your partner's love language,
Yeah.
so that you can fill her or his love tank.
Is it more
Right.
important you know your spouse's than your own?
Yes, and your own, you know. But if you know your own, you can tell your spouse if they don't want to take
Well,
the test.
It should be equally important
No, I mean because
because you want to receive and give.
I mean because you want us both to do it together. But if I know my love language, it still doesn't help me to be able to love Jenny anymore. I can't use my love language on her.
Understood.
She might be
Okay.
physical touch, and I might be gifts. I'm showering her with gifts, and she just wants me to rub her back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the gifts don't mean a thing to me.
Yeah.
Right? Seriously. So it's very important to know the other person's love language.
Yeah.
Some of the actions, touching, kissing, holding each other, and sexual intimacy is a part of it,
Yeah.
right? The reaction from the person then is that feeling of being cared for, being loved, right? The security of knowing that you care about me, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the men who tell you things, and I need to just say this for the guys out here. I didn't grow up in a touchy-feely family. I don't like the touchy-feely stuff, you know. Don't be limited by your imagination. Don't be limited. Use your imagination. If you're uncomfortable with one thing, there are other things that you can do for your loved one, right?
So really, but how do you bridge that gap if you grew up in a household where there was no hugging, there's no touchy?
How did you get to this person?
I mean, you know, it's like some people have difficulty because intimacy, as you would appreciate, is a continuum. It's not just sexual. It also comes from, you know, having a connection, and that connection builds. Some people don't build it with physical touch. They build it otherwise. You know, nice words, gifts. Thought.
Tell me more about that.
And some people don't have the foreplay of getting to that in that way. They've had, some of them have had bad experiences with physical touch, and so how do you bridge that if your experience with physical touch has not been a positive one, and you're trying to deliver in the gas tank of your partner who needs that? How do you bridge that gap?
You know what? It's what you call taking it one baby step at a time.
Yeah.
You practice. You go outside of your comfort zone. If you love this person, you come outside of your comfort zone and do little things. If you're not comfortable hugging as yet, at least hold hands.
Yeah.
Hold fingers.
Yeah.
Footsies. I love footsies.
Yeah. But you know, it almost sounds like it's it's a better match if somebody has your shared love language.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I'm 0% physical touch, I mean, I don't think anybody would be 0, but if I'm 0 versus you being at 80% physical touch, that's gonna be a hard bridge. Rather than perhaps us both having that as our primary love language.
Well, how would
or
you get
both.
together?
No, I know, but that's a whole. I'm just saying as an example. Yeah.
Because if physical touch is important to me, well, we are dating.
Yeah.
And maybe these quick relationships that people jump into,
True.
they would not
True.
they would not take the time to find out that I enjoy
That is
being
true.
touched.
You wouldn't have been
Right.
engaged enough because
Right.
your needs weren't being met from the beginning.
From the very beginning.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Don't make the mistake of believing that what brings pleasure to you, touch-wise, brings pleasure to me if this is my love language.
Yeah.
Because you might like, let's use the hair example, you might like somebody playing in your hair, but your girlfriend doesn't want you touching her hair.
Yeah. Maybe she likes a back scratch instead. Yeah.
So you need to really
For sure.
find out. You
Yeah.
need to find out what the person
Yeah.
likes and enjoys.
There's always an assumption that this is perhaps more of a female need than a male's need, if when you separate it from just sex. But men do
like
value
that.
physical touch
Yes,
too.
they do,
Yeah.
very much
Of
so.
course.
I said there's an assumption. I mean, moving away from just the sex. So it's like if somebody's going to be affectionate, rub your arm or touch your face or stuff like that. Like men value that stuff
do.
too. Some men. Yeah.
A lot of men,
Yeah.
I think. Women like to take a man's face in their hand and just look
Yeah.
at him, and men like that.
It's just
Most men.
It's just a matter of appreciation, I would think.
Yeah.
You want to feel that the person is into you completely in every aspect of you. So, and it's just one way of showing that.
Yeah.
Really?
So physical touch can make or break a relationship because sometimes physical touch can be harmful, can be abusive.
Yes.
And so that's very, very important. Okay, our bodies are for touching, not for abuse. I love this picture.
See, that's it. I mean, if you put two human beings there, like just holding somebody's hand when they're saying something difficult, that's such like an important moment too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, have you ever been in a situation where somebody says, I just hold me,
Yeah.
that. And I was wondering, is it one of the surest ways to know that you're probably slipping in a relationship? When the physical aspect of it is kind of like dwindling. You don't hug anymore, you're not. Because I thought that there was at least a very minimum of love language in everyone that has to have a bit of physicality.
Yeah.
There has to be some aspect of
It's
it.
percentage based,
Yeah.
So it's like 80 and 40, whatever,
Yeah.
So is it the easiest way to assess your relationship to say, maybe we're not as in the healthiest place right now, and we're moving off our marker of where we were when we were 16, walking down the street holding hands at 12
That's when you
o'clock.
sit and have the talk. You talk to each other. It's so important throughout the relationship that people are talking to each other. And when you notice things like this, you bring it to your partner's attention and start working on it. We tend to forget the importance of verbal communication and then working together to correct whatever the issues are.
Yeah.
Physical touch in times of crises. This is when people need to feel that you, and what you were just saying about just hugging me,
Yeah.
just hold me, right? That means so much more than words at that point, right? So I'm not going to go through all that, but if the person's primary love language is physical touch, nothing is more important in a time of crisis. Nothing is more important. I may cry, you just hold me, and I will just cry, and it means so much. And it really does build up the dopamine in the person's system, okay? Your partner's love language is physical touch. So here are some examples of things that you can do when you're out shopping. Reach out and touch her hand. You don't have to go hold hands walking through like kids, but you can reach out and touch her hand to ask her something. When eating together, let your knee touch her knee, Play footsies under the table. I like that. While your spouse is seated, give her a back massage. Just come up and give her a little back massage. Nothing great, but just do a little something. Touch her in the presence of family members. It's important, especially for the children, to see that mom and dad touch and mom and dad show love by touching. It's really important. I think we don't do that enough. We quarrel in front of them, but we don't show
Or we do
caring
silent treatment in front of them, which is even worse.
Right, right.
But isn't that showy? Like, you know, when I was younger, I remember in high school refusing to do public signs of affection because it was just like, okay, you're just trying to show everybody that we're together. It's not about the substance of what we are. It was more so about, you know, you wanted to prove to your friends that me and Jenny are going out. This is my Jenny. How do you balance that piece of it? Of them just wanting, not necessarily the substance of relationship, but to be showy about it. I have to show that I'm with Jenny. So everybody can know that me and Jenny together.
That's a little.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's a conversation you need to have.
Yeah.
That's a real conversation because that's not what we're talking about here. Physical touch is about a loving kind of touch.
Yeah.
I thought actually this one has it. Hanky Panky or lovepanky.com talks about some different types of touch, and there are all kinds of touch, right? Putting your hand on somebody's back when they've lost somebody and kind of patting them. It's showing that I'm sympathizing with you, right? They've got like 25 of these things, and some of the touches are not good touches.
Yeah.
And people know, they can sense how that touch feels. A hug is a greeting, you know, saying hi, whatever. And you hug and pat somebody.
Oh, I love this one, the last one, the tight hug.
Yeah.
I'm such a hugger. I love when I meet people and they just give me a tight hug.
Yeah.
I mean, once it's appropriate.
But then the hitting,
I know you.
the hitting when somebody's in anger and they hit you.
Yeah.
And you can tell from the way the person hits that it's not a pleasant. This is not something pleasant or loving. So touch can also be very negative.
Yeah.
And in a relationship, we have to be careful of abuse. So we need to be careful about how we do it. Rubbing somebody's arm, you come up and just rub their arm.
Yeah.
It's very loving, right? Gripping the arm, though, if I come up and I grip your arm, it shows fear.
Yeah.
Right. And so go to Love Panky.
And we've done that. Like, you know, you've ever been in a situation where you feel unsafe and you're like, even with the kids in the car or anything, it's just like, are
grab
you...
a hold of them.
It's
Stabilizing.
You're right. It's a communication of my fear or my want to protect you immediately.
Right. That's right there. That's a very protective act when you put your hand in front of somebody like that. So touch, pay attention to touch, but pay attention to whether or not your loved one, if that is their love language.
Yeah.
One of my favorite hugs is, you know, watching two people, you know, they're watching a parade, and then the guy is standing in the back and the girl is in the front, and he just envelopes her.
Yeah.
And they're just like in their own world watching this public thing pass by. It's always to me like one of the most romantic.
Sounds like you got some physical touch in your love language.
Sounds like it, quite a bit,
I think it might be quality time than physical touch.
I like to see it.
It's a really interesting test to take. It is. It teaches you so much.
Have you taken it?
I took it once years ago when I first read the book. I can't remember what it was, but I know what I like.
Yeah.
I do know what I like.
But remember, the important thing, do you know what your wife likes?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm pretty sure I do exactly what she likes.
Okay.
I was going to ask, does your, and it's not in response to you, but I really think about it. I've done it more than once, and I have found where the percentages change in different times of my life.
Yes.
There was a time where what was number one is now maybe number 3 for me, and my number 1 has shifted. Why does that happen? Why does your love language change over time? Is it just maturity, experiences?
Maturity, what you've gone through.
Yeah.
You know, aging.
Yeah.
Different things. You find someone in your life, and so it changes.
Yeah.
Right. Someone that you maybe really care about.
Yeah.
Or you had a breakup.
Yeah.
Right. So different things. And it's always good to go back and just check.
Yeah.
I thought some of this was how you grew up and how you were shown love and affection and what you appreciated in your childhood. So how does it change?
Bad experiences. Because I could see how things like, if you come from an abusive relationship, how suddenly after that words of affirmation become more important because you've been so degraded before. So
Powerful.
I've seen that where, you know, things just shift in your life.
Or you get into a relationship that's an abusive relationship, right? And then later on you find someone who is just really loving, and it shifted.
Yeah.
It has shifted.
Yeah.
Nice. These are important conversations, man.
Yeah. Take
So-
the test. It's online. It's free.
So
It
Gary
will change
Chapman-
your relationship.
It will definitely change your relationship.
For the
Gary
better.
Chapman is the guy who wrote the 5 Love Languages. And he said, love is something you do for someone else, not something you do for yourself. So, hence the importance of knowing your partner's love language. Okay. So, just to go back over this, why is it important to know your love language? And I'm talking knowing yours, but knowing your spouse's more or your
Yeah.
girlfriend more importantly.
Yeah.
If I
Or
know
your
what
partner.
my love language is, I can tell my partner, my love language is,
Yeah.
and now you know.
Or
And
I
you-
can say, stop giving me gifts because it really doesn't play a role. I prefer if we, if you tell me something nice when I come home.
yes. Or
Along
you,
with the
you,
gift.
or you, or you
No,
put-
because that could be
Gift
your
doesn't
lowest
mean
rank, and
anything
it
to me.
actually is my lowest rank. Because, yeah. But I mean, that's a terrible situation because I've been there where somebody else's love language is gifts, and it really doesn't register for me.
Yeah.
And so it's just
quality time, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want
that's
I
it.
want you to spend
That's it.
time with me.
Yeah.
Or touch, physical touch. I grew up in a family that didn't touch, but I long for it.
Yeah.
I long for it. So it's so important that
Yeah.
you know and I know.
Yeah.
Really important. Love makes a difference. If you love someone, you really want to fill their love tank.
Yeah.
And it filling your love tank, I want you to fill mine also.
Yeah.
We will have a marriage or a relationship that lasts for a long, long, long time. Remembering that love is a choice. I choose to be with you, you choose to be with me. It's not forced or coerced.
Yeah.
And so we do the things for each other that will make the other person happy. And how do you love the unlovely?
Oh.
Eek. I don't know if I want to get into that.
You put it there.
You have to know.
Well, you know, sometimes you may be married to someone who's a prickly pear
Yeah.
and someone who is very difficult to get along with. But if I can remember and find out what her love language is, I can then begin to pare away at some of those behaviors that she does and love her through it until she begins to make the changes. But you do that by knowing her love language or his love language.
As you're talking, there's a scripture that comes to my mind. I don't know why, but it says, "Love is kind, love is patient, it's love stand, it's not."
Yes.
You know, it's just there are a lot of things we're going through in this society right now, and I have to bring it back. You know, I'm looking at the headline news, which are very daunting: murders and babies being hurt and dying. And I think like you said, love makes a difference. I think what we're missing in Belize is really just building on a love that we already. Belizeans are loving people, but I think we're moving a little way away from that. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for us to look as a society. How are we loving each other, and to start to love each other more?
Well,
And
the evolution of every child, it starts
Yes,
with their
it
parents'
starts with-
encounter. And so
Yeah.
mom and dad, if they invest in love language, can do a lot. Here's another interesting fact. Gary Chapman actually does a book on love languages of your children, because each individual
that.
child has a love language as well. And knowing
I
that,
thought it was just gifts.
no, no. I know some kids who are words of affirmation. Like you say something, and you learn that because when you say something that's not nice, it sticks with them.
Yeah. It's really important, you know, once you fill the love tank of your partner, if you have children, it's really important to know what the child's love language is. When I look, I think, wow, there's so many things that could happen if people start loving and being loving with each other.
Yeah.
You know, we won't kill each other, we won't curse each other, we won't put all the horrible things on social media about each other.
And being deliberate in our efforts. That's what I think it boils down to.
And it also spills over because, okay, if I'm in love with Jenny, I'm just a much more pleasant person. I can get along with Marlene more. I can get along with my boss more. It just spills over to everything. I don't have time to be upset with Shanice. I'm just so happy with being in love.
Why would Shanice upset anybody?
She doesn't.
No, well, there's no truer testament to that than seeing somebody who is like just fallen in love.
Yes.
Because that's just like you see the butterflies flying out of their head the entire time. Come back to earth. They do eventually. Jenny, this has been an excellent series. You know, it started off as just an idea, and we went all the way with it.
Yes.
You know, we really hope if you've just caught this one, you can always go back on our YouTube channel, find the clips before. We've tackled each love language in one segment. And it is extremely helpful if you want to improve your relationship with your partner, or if you want to learn more about how to love your kids. It's great. And thank you for taking the time to put all the research in.
I've really enjoyed it, and I hope that people will go and do the test.
Yeah.
And learn your partner's love language and begin to work on each other. It's so important. And it makes such a big difference in our country.
Love it.
All
Love it,
right.
love it, love it, love it.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is. All right, that's it for us with Bruk It Down with Jenny. We're going to shift gears when we come back to talk about Mayan hieroglyphics, so stay tuned.
These are the people who I want to appeal to. Make those little slips. It happens. You have to have a plan to manage your problems effectively. How are you going to do it? Fall off the horse? Jump right back on.